We start a new nightly segment on 19 News called Insights. It's an opportunity to interview local newsmakers from all around the UP and get their insight about issues and events of public interest. And tonight we are happy to welcome our first guest, Marquette City Manager Karen Kovacs. Thank you so much for joining us and being our first guest here in the studio, Karen.
It's an honor to be one of your first guests, so thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So let's get right into it. Your contract was recently renewed by the Commission for 2 years. What are your priorities for the city for the next couple years?
So we are right in the middle of our strategic plan from back in 2021 to 2023. And so there's still a few things we have to work on. And some of those initiatives really include economic development, housing and transportation, climate change, really looking at our facilities and infrastructure and our essential services, which is what we do best.
Gotcha. And speaking of essential services, the City Commission recently approved a budget for the next year. So how are you factoring in inflation with the increased cost of these city services that you're providing?
That is certainly presenting a challenge for us, and we were able to have a really solid budget presented and approved just last week. So it really makes us become more creative and find other solutions for those funding gaps that we would be essentially having. But really, this next year, as we go into the Community Master Plan, we will be really looking at what we can be offering and what we can be doing within our city, and then moving into a strategic plan as well. We will start updating that and be able to identify some of those really important services that we provide our city.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that that master plan. That process is getting underway pretty quickly. What's involved in that process? How can the residents of the city get involved in that process?
That's an excellent question, because we're talking about the Community Master Plan. So this really is involving the community. And where we stand right now is we are in the beginning phases of really developing a steering committee, and the Planning Commission with the city is actually who kind of spearheads this. So right now we move into a steering committee, which includes some commissioners, planning commissioners, some real key stakeholders, before we start having the community engagement part, which is the critical part to this Community Master Plan.
Absolutely. And one final question, a lot of people think that, Marquette is kind of a standalone in the UP in terms of how things are run here, but it really is a collaborative process between you and city managers all across the UP. Talk about that collaborative process.
What a great question, because we are not in this alone, and the things that we need to accomplish within the city of Marquette and the region and the UP, we have to work together. And last week we had the UP managers, all the city managers within the UP, most of them. Obviously, some were back home working,
sure.
But the Michigan Municipal League helps us host a conference where we can talk about some of those hot topics and how we can be working together to achieve some really big things for the UP and make sure that we are ahead of the times.
Yeah, what are those main things that you guys are collaborating on?
Housing has been a topic of conversation across the board, economic development especially. We are headed as a state into some really interesting times with the economy, and our opportunities are out there. So we need to make sure that we're working together, banding together, and start taking advantage of those opportunities.
Awesome. Looking ahead for people who live in Marquette, when is the next City Commission meeting that they can pop in on?
That will be on the 11th. It's different from our Monday. We usually have them on Mondays, but just due to the federal holiday, we are pushed to Tuesday, October 11th.
All right. Karen, thank you so much again for being our very first guest. We appreciate it.
Thank you.